Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader, Clay Travis. I appreciate all of you coming to spend your Thursday afternoon with me. As always, you can go to Oddshark, the presenting sponsor of this show. Go to Oddshark for all of your gambling and informational related needs. This is Outkick the Show, and I am your fearless leader, and we have got a loaded show today. Lots of news to hit. I'm going to go in order here. I'm going to give you a good analogy that I want you to take out to the bars. I want you to take out to the Twitter streets. I want you to take it everywhere with me. I'm going to talk to you about Kaepernick versus Johnny Depp, and trust me, it's going to make a lot of sense. Also, Johnny Manziel, probably having a better day than you. Hung out down on the beaches of Tulum near the ancient Mayan ruins with 3 smoking hot, topless chicks. TMZ has the photos. We will discuss. How about Jefferson Davis, his statue getting pulled down in New Orleans? The forces of political correctness claim another victim, why it's scary, and this is much like what ISIS is doing. We're going to talk about Tajae Sharpe and the Titans brawl. We had his lawyer on the show early this morning on Outkick the Coverage. And finally, great white sharks are swarming in the OC just off the beach in Orange County out in California. Will anyone survive the tempest and turmoil from the stormy seas? We'll discuss that and more. I am going to begin, though, with a story here that I think is important. A lot of attention continuing to rain down on Colin Kaepernick and the fact that he is not employed. What is one of my number one rules of life? You will always be employed so long as your talent exceeds your problems. There's a great, fantastic article that I tweeted out in the Hollywood Reporter about Johnny Depp and what a mess he has become. He potentially has gone bankrupt despite the fact that he has earned $650 million. Johnny Depp is in particular, the article focuses on his behavior surrounding the newest making of the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. If you're not familiar with the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, I don't know what rock you've been living under, but the most recent iteration of that film made $1 billion. As a part of that film, Johnny Depp plays the role of Captain Jack Sparrow, and he is incredible in it, okay? There are very few people who can play the same role of Captain Jack Sparrow like Johnny Depp can. Inside that profile about Johnny Depp's financial difficulties are several amazing details. Among them, Johnny Depp spends $30,000 a month on wine. $30,000 a month on wine. He has properties all over the world, but what is fascinating about that story is that Johnny Depp was such a wreck when they were filming the newest edition of Pirates of the Caribbean that they actually stationed a guy to stand outside of his home and report back to the directors and everybody on set the moment that he would wake up, whether it was in the day or the afternoon, the morning or the afternoon. When the lights would come on his Australian mansion, they would notify the set, hey, Depp might be on his way. He showed up hours late. He was not following any kind of schedule. Most people who were working on that production of Pirates of the Caribbean would have been fired immediately. In fact, probably every single, it's another great stat from it, Johnny Depp has a 40-person staff that works for him that costs millions of dollars a year. Johnny Depp Inc. employs 40 people to just take care of his property and take care of him. Security goes everywhere he goes. It's a great stat. The Hollywood Reporter, I'd encourage you guys to go read it. You can go check out the article yourself, okay? Here's what is fascinating about that. What is fascinating about the Johnny Depp story is they worked around him. Do you know why Disney worked around Johnny Depp's creative difficulties there? Why they were willing to handle him being drunk? Why at times he wasn't showing up until the afternoon, even though there were morning shoots scheduled? They did it because the last movie that they made in the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise made $1 billion. Moreover, if you replace him with someone else, that movie probably doesn't work, right? If there's suddenly a new Captain Jack Sparrow, a lot of people are not going to show up and watch the Johnny Depp Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Johnny Depp has so impactfully and perfectly rendered that character that if you take him out of the movie, it's going to make hundreds of millions of dollars less. So the company has to work with him, even if he's being incredibly irascible, even if he's being particularly difficult. The lesson there, Johnny Depp's talent is so hard to replace that his problems are less than his talents. And my position on this is straightforward. So long as your talent exceeds your problems, you will be employed. Colin Kaepernick is not Johnny Depp. He is not Aaron Rodgers. He is not even Matthew Stafford or Matt Ryan or Drew Brees or Russell Wilson. He is not a top 20 quarterback in the NFL right now by any statistical measure. As a result, if he is going to be employed, then his talent is going to have to be substantial in order to exceed his problems. It is not. Johnny Depp is like virtually every other person who is working on that Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Only Johnny Depp could not show up all hours of the day and night and still be allowed to be on that movie. Do you know why? Because Johnny Depp is the only person on that movie who is irreplaceable. If Colin Kaepernick had the football equivalent of talent that Johnny Depp has on Pirates of the Caribbean, he would be employed. People would overlook his protest. If Aaron Rodgers had taken a knee, he would still be employed, even if the Green Bay Packers cut him. Or if he opted out for free agency, 32 NFL teams would try to sign him. The same is true of Russell Wilson. The same is true of Drew Brees and Tom Brady and Matt Ryan and lots of other talented quarterbacks, including probably Cam Newton. You might notice that both Cam Newton and Russell Wilson are black. There is an underlying tension here where the typical ESPN race baiters want to race bait here and say Colin Kaepernick is not employed because he's black and he protested. Neither of those things is true. If Aaron Rodgers had protested police brutality, he would still be employed everywhere. So would Russell Wilson, and so would Cam Newton, because their talent is more akin to the talent of Johnny Depp. They are able to overcome the fact that they may be incredibly difficult to work with and that they may have substantial issues because their talent is such that it exceeds their problems. This is the number one lesson of life today. No matter what you do for a living, if you sell houses, the person who sells the most houses at your company can have a lot of issues away from selling houses. If you are a lawyer, and this happens all the time in law firms, if you are a lawyer with substance abuse issues, people will cover for it as long as you hit your billable hours and as long as you bring in clients. If you are a doctor and you are the best doctor there is in a hospital, you can treat people like shit in the operating room and elsewhere, and people will cover for you. Your talent must exceed your problems, and you will always be employable no matter what you do, right? The standards are not equal for everyone. If Colin Kaepernick wanted to make a lot of money playing football, then he needed to do one of two things. Be insanely good at playing football, which he is not. He was beaten out by Blaine Gabbert this past season. He was not good on the field. Or he had to keep his mouth shut and not create a stir and manage to maintain his employability. He did neither. It's not the fact that Colin Kaepernick protested that's the reason he's not employed. It's the fact that Colin Kaepernick protested and he's not good enough at football for somebody to take the business risk behind employing him. Now, I would encourage all of you guys, I said this on the show this morning, if you missed my Outkick the Coverage show this morning, all of these ESPN liberal employees who were saying, oh, why should Colin Kaepernick be employed? And so also at Fox and CBS and NBC and all these other different written sites, you can see them ricocheting throughout Twitter. Everybody's saying, oh, woe is me. Why is Colin Kaepernick not employed? I want you to respond and ask a simple question. Why doesn't your business hire Colin Kaepernick? If ESPN thinks Colin Kaepernick should be employed, why isn't he employed on ESPN like a lot of other former quarterbacks are, breaking down game film and giving his political opinions on the world of sports? Theoretically, he would fit perfectly, right? It's because even at a left-wing corporation like MSESPN, they recognize that hiring Colin Kaepernick would alienate a substantial portion of their viewership. Well, if you recognize that, and Fox would recognize it, and CBS would recognize it, and NBC would recognize it, those are businesses designed to make money, so too are football teams. And if you aren't going to make the football team more likely to win games, then why would a football team, which is just a business, just like MSESPN, just like NBC, just like Fox, just like CBS, why would they choose to make a different decision than all those television networks would choose to make? It's simple business. Colin Kaepernick doesn't win you any more games, and he alienates a substantial portion of your fan base. That's the truth. If Colin Kaepernick wanted to protest, again, he needed to do one of two things. Be so damn good that nobody cared about his protest because he wins football games. Fans are amoral like that. We'll hire rapists. We'll hire sexual assaulters. We will hire serial wife beaters, so long as they make the team more likely to win. Colin Kaepernick doesn't make the team more likely to win. That's a simple truth. So either you have to be better, and he's not better, or you have to not create a stir surrounding your personal protest. Now, the other thing is here, I keep saying this because I think it's such a good point. Would these same liberal defenders of Colin Kaepernick arguing for free speech be defending Colin Kaepernick if he had taken a knee to oppose gay marriage? That's actually brave. That's actually something that the United States government did based on a 5-4 Supreme Court decision that he disagreed with. If he had taken a knee, in fact, the same people defending him in San Francisco would have been saying he should no longer be able to play to represent the San Francisco 49ers because there's such a substantial gay population in the city of San Francisco. This isn't about defending Colin Kaepernick's free speech. It's about what usually happens in the media. People defending the speech they already agree with. I believe in free speech. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I believe in two things, boobs and the First Amendment. Neither have ever let me down, okay? Absolute belief in only two things, boobs and the First Amendment. I'll defend anybody's right to say anything, but I will not defend the stupidity that comes about this Colin Kaepernick discussion. So, anytime you see somebody in the media saying that Colin Kaepernick should be employed as a quarterback, I want you to ask that person, why don't you employ him? If you think that he deserves to be employed as a quarterback, then he must be a steal to be employed by your media company, given all the attention that he could possibly get. Why don't you employ him, NBC? Why don't you employ him, MSESPN? Why don't you employ him, CBS? Why don't you employ him, Fox? And the answer will be, well, they won't have an idea how to answer. And your position should then be, well, your CEOs are making the exact same decisions that the owners and CEOs are making of the 32 independent football teams. This is far too logical for most people to follow. Games, and he does cost everybody more money. That's a bad combination. If you want to cost people money, you better win a lot of football games. So that's my story, Colin Kaepernick. I think Johnny Depp is a fascinating combination to compare to. Go read the Hollywood Reporter story on Johnny Depp. Again, the number one lesson that you should take from this is that so long as your talent exceeds your problems, you'll always be employed. People try to make this more complicated than it actually is. As long as you're making big companies money and you're good at what you do, then you can get away with a lot. The moment you stop making them money, then they'll kick you to the curb. Johnny Depp, ain't a lot of Captain Jack Sparrows. In the world of Hollywood, there ain't a lot of Tony Starks, which is why Robert Downey Jr. could get away with so much of his behavior outside of the realm of the camera. If you're saying, oh, that's because they're white actors, because you're lazy and all you think about is race, Will Smith could get away with some shit too. In fact, he has. He's fucking crazy when you look at his religion, when you look at what his kids believe, everything else. But you know what? Will Smith is a really damn good actor who makes a lot of money for big corporations, and so his standard for behavior is completely different. If you get people to show up for your movies, you can do all sorts of wacky shit. Ask Tom Cruise, who's been doing crazy-ass stuff for a long, long time. Hell, ask Roman Polanski. Ask Woody Allen. Hollywood will let you get away with a lot if you claim to be liberal and people show up at your movies. Okay, let's talk about Johnny Manziel. After a long time of social media silence, Johnny Manziel has reemerged. TMZ, if you want to see 3 hot topless chicks, and why wouldn't you want to see 3 hot topless chicks? Johnny Manziel is down in Mexico with his fiance and 2 other hot chicks. They are all seen cavorting in the beautiful sandy beaches of Mexico. 3 of them topless alongside of Johnny Manziel. God bless Johnny Football. I don't know if he's ever going to get back to football. I hope he does. But I guarantee you he's living a lot better life than anybody else watching this show right now. People love to judge people. Oh, he's a douchebag. Oh, he's an ass. Are you telling me you wouldn't be happy to take $20 million right now, fail at football, and get to hang out with topless chicks all day long for the rest of your life? Maybe he'll come back at football, but I would trade places with anybody right now. You give me a Heisman Trophy and a failed NFL career and $20 million, and I will 100% trade places with just about anybody. Now, I think I'm going to make more than $20 million, so I'd just love to have the Heisman Trophy. But get out of here with the stupidity of, oh, Johnny Football is such a huge failure. Shut up. By the way, for all the Colin Kaepernick people out there, you know the last quarterback in the history of the NFL to win a postseason game and never start another one? Tim Tebow. Think about that. The last time Tim Tebow started a game as a quarterback in the NFL was his game against the New England Patriots. The prior game was a playoff game that he won. And Tim Tebow's disappeared. Why did Tim Tebow disappear? Because the NFL cares about talent. Same reason that RG3 has disappeared. Everybody found out Colin Kaepernick. There's no more depth to his game. There's no more next level for him. You got to be able to get better year after year. Colin Kaepernick has gotten worse every year. You know why? Because he couldn't take it to the next level. He couldn't be a consistent passer. He couldn't make plays. And stop with you loser-ass motherfuckers with, oh, he threw 16 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. His quarterback rating was below 30. Don't just look at blatant numbers. A lot of those numbers came when his team was getting the shit kicked out of him. He's Blake Bortles. Go look at Blake Bortles' stats. Blake Bortles threw for over 30 touchdowns. People say to me all the time, Blake Bortles is trash. All of his touchdown passes, when you break them down, all of them, just about, come in games where his team's getting their ass kicked. The 49ers got their ass kicked a lot. If they thought that he was good, don't you think they would have kept him? Don't you think they would have signed him? Colin Kaepernick is not a top 30 quarterback in the NFL anymore. He's certainly not a top 20 quarterback. If you're not going to be that, you better be not a distraction. Cap's done. I hope he doesn't get signed because I think he's a dumb motherfucker. All right, continuing. Jefferson Davis statue. I want to come through with this right here. You guys know that I am a historian. I have read hundreds of books about the Civil War in my time. By the way, you're watching Outkick the Show. I am Clay Travis. Thank you for hanging with us. It's 100% true. All right? I've read hundreds of books about Jefferson Davis. The decision to pull down statues in New Orleans is further evidence that this country has descended into a banana republic. A banana republic where all history, which does not comport with your Disney-fied version of the truth, is incredibly strange, weird, and indefensible. All right, I'm going to explain now here what's going on. Quick history of the Confederacy, quick history of the Civil War. You fought like 99% of the time for the side of the state in which you resided. People don't understand this now, but in an age before interstates, in an age before cars, in an age before air travel, the state in which you were born was like your country. Indeed, there were many suggestions that at some point in time, the United States was going to break up and every individual state would become a country. This idea that people made a decision to fight in the Civil War based on their opinion about slavery is fundamentally wrong. It isn't supported in any way by the historical record. People fought for their state, and their state either decided to be a member of the United States or it seceded and became a member of the Confederate States. Abraham Lincoln went to war because he did not believe that secession was legal. When he went to war, Abraham Lincoln said that he was fine with the war continuing. He would not fight if the South would just come back. He would allow slavery to continue to exist. Okay? So this idea that the Civil War, that Abraham Lincoln went to war to end slavery is not true. Okay? During the middle of the Civil War, after the Battle of Antietam, Abraham Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation, which then interestingly, only freed the slaves in the rebellion states. It didn't free the slaves in the northern states that remained loyal to the Union. Northern slave states, Maryland, Kentucky, Missouri, places where slavery still existed. We have somehow ended up in a very strange universe where the United States, which is fundamentally a racist country, the Constitution defines slaves as counting as 3/5 of human beings, okay? 100% the entire country is racist, right? The entire United States country is racist historically. We have allowed the United States to evolve and get many things that were wrong in our past history correct, right? We have instituted the end of slavery. We have instituted all the voting rights amendments, everything else associated with trying to treat everybody equally. In fact, in the modern day United States, and this is one reason I think Colin Kaepernick's protest was so dumb, we have complete equality under the United States Constitution and our federal government with one notable exception. Black people are actually treated better because of affirmative action. It is easier to get into a good college because of your black skin. It is easier to get a job because of your black skin. Now, this is an idea that we're going to redress past decades of racial discrimination. But it is indisputable that the only inequality in America today is actually in favor of black people. Black people are not being oppressed by the United States government. They're actually being treated more fairly based on their color of their skin, which is, frankly, racism, right? That's treating, the very definition of racism is treating somebody differently based on the color of their skin. The fascinating thing about affirmative action is some of the biggest beneficiaries of affirmative action are actually African immigrants who arrive in this country, have never had any of the legacy of racism imparted upon their families, and then suddenly they get in here and they get the advantage of affirmative action, despite the fact they've spent their whole lives prior to arriving in America in Africa. It's a totally broken system, okay? But we allow American historical figures to evolve. That is, we believe because America ended slavery that the wrongdoings of our past are not imparted and frozen in amber. What we do with Confederate history and the Civil War soldiers who fought for the South is we say their opinions, which they had from 1861 to 1865 in the course of that conflict, never would have changed. They are forever racist now. They are the bad guys, and the North is the good guys. Now, how much sense does that make from a historical perspective? If there was no Civil War, an interesting question. Do left-wingers still believe that slavery would exist in America today? Or would it have slowly frittered away when it no longer made economic sense? This idea that somehow the South was fighting for slavery is fundamentally wrong. And here's what scares me from a historical perspective. What scares me from a historical perspective is that many people are in favor of tearing down history because it upsets them. The entire purpose of history is to learn from it and ensure that we do not repeat the same mistakes of the past. What we are in the middle of right now is a left-wing McCarthyism, where people are branded racist, sexist, whatever other insults you want to throw out there, homophobic, transphobic. And instead of being allowed to participate in the marketplace of ideas, if you have an opinion that the ascendant majority decides is inappropriate, they tear down all reference to you at all. Do you know what that is similar to? It's similar to what terrorists do. It's similar to what ISIS does. If history offends us, let us erase it forever. That is not a history that I want to be part of. That's not a part of the country that I want to be involved in. I think that what New Orleans is doing is fundamentally an assault upon the civil liberties of any reasonably intelligent person in America today. Okay? Tearing down statues because they offend you is what people in totalitarian dictatorships do. Adults do not tear down statues that historically offend them. They learn from them. They continue to evolve with history. They add statues of their own history that they like. This is a big melting pot. You don't have to love everything. But the number one thing that is driving me insane, as someone who's read hundreds of books about the Civil War, as someone who knows more about our country's history than 99.9% of people out there, is this idea that whatever people thought in the South from 1861 to 1865 would still be the same today. We allow America to evolve. We allow the Constitution to evolve. Nobody is saying the Constitution needs to be burned up because it initially said that black people were 3/5 of human beings for purposes of the census. Nobody is making that argument. Yet people make that argument about the Civil War all the time. And by the way, where does this end? Do we tear down the Washington Monument? Should we tear down the pyramids in Egypt? Should we tear down the Colosseum in Rome? Slaves have existed throughout human history, and oftentimes they have been used to build magnificent works of historic art. Where does this end? Does the Washington Monument come down? Does the Jefferson Memorial come down? Abraham Lincoln's wife owned slaves. Do we tear down Abraham Lincoln's monument because of what he was connected to? Should we blow up the Egyptian pyramids? Should we tear down the Colosseum in Rome? Where does it end? Randomly choosing parts of history that you don't like, frequently while having no knowledge of the actual historical record, is scary, and it shouldn't be embraced by anybody who believes in the vibrancy of American thought or the marketplace of ideas. That's the truth. 100%. You need to study this. Trust me, I have. New Orleans had an opportunity to have a legitimate discussion about the historical record and to continue to evolve it. I wouldn't have been opposed to a compromise. I am a son of the South. I think it would have been fascinating to put at Lee Square a statue to Martin Luther King or some other minority figure in the world of New Orleans to represent the passages of history and the important aspects of the historical record that people from all walks of life have followed. I think that's what happens in the study of history. You learn very easily that historical figures are flawed and that you set up a record of all that history and try to learn from it. Maybe I'm crazy. I think I can learn from the civil rights movement and be a scholar on that, which I am, as well as I can about the Civil War. I think you can learn all throughout human history. But what we see today is nothing like that. And I think the city of New Orleans is worse for it. I think that in the years ahead, people will say, my God, this was terrifying that this era existed, that in the dark of night, we tore down statues erected in the city of New Orleans that represent, for good or bad, many aspects of the city's history. What's next in New Orleans? Do you tear down Andrew Jackson's statue in Jackson Square? Do you rename the park? He was a slave owner. Just think about it. I think it's a real mistake. I think it's totally broken. And I'm just saying, it doesn't make any sense. Doesn't make any sense at all. Okay, additional thoughts. Tajae Sharpe and the Titans. Hold on, let me go ahead and get my ad in here. I love SeatGeek. I absolutely love everything about SeatGeek. As we come into the final days of the NBA playoffs in terms of the semifinals, as we prepare to start the Final Four of the NHL, do you know where you can go and get hooked up for seats no matter where you go all over the country? You can go to SeatGeek. Go to SeatGeek, download SeatGeek, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings code, and click add a promo code. You put in the promo code OUTKICK, you get $20 off. I absolutely love SeatGeek. I use it. I'm going to use it next week to go to the Preds games when they are here in town as they take on the Anaheim Mighty Ducks. I'm going to be able to go into that app, and I can pull it up on my phone right now, and I can look at it, and it's going to tell me where are the best seats. It's really difficult sometimes to know where am I getting the most bang for my buck. Well, they have colored circles inside of the SeatGeek app. You click on it, and you are ready to roll. It is fantastic. You can get the best value. You can download them directly to your phone. You can then share that ticket with a buddy of yours, as I did last week when I went to there, a couple weeks ago when I went to the Blackhawks game. Just texted him his ticket. We met up outside of the arena. We walked right in, walked straight to our tickets, got them scanned, and it was a flawless process. Nothing better than having awesome seats and never having to worry about them at all. Again, go to SeatGeek, download the SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, click add a promo code, put in the promo code OUTKICK, and you get $20 off your first purchase. You'll be glad that you did, and I guarantee you will get hooked up. Go get hooked up now. A lot of you are using it. SeatGeek app. Use the code OUTKICK. Again, download it. Go to the promo code. Go to the settings tab. Click add a promo code and put in the promo code OUTKICK. Bang. All right. Additional questions. What questions do you guys have about what I've talked about so far? What questions do you believe? I don't know. I don't know what anybody's doing in terms of everybody else. Who do I need to snipe? Who do you want me to snipe? I haven't been reading the comments. Who deserves to be sniped? Okay, NBA lottery questions is stupid. NBA lottery is a long time away. Okay, I'm going to continue. Bad questions. You guys aren't being very entertaining. I looked pretty quickly. Okay, here we go. Tajae Sharpe for the Titans. Did you see the insanity of this story? Reports are, and I'm convinced that once the criminal charges come down, if they do, this is going to be everywhere. This is an amazing story. Tajae Sharpe, Tennessee Titans wide receiver, was evidently out at Tin Roof. It's a popular bar on Demumbrian Street. I used to own it. Hate to brag, but I used to own all the bars, part of an ownership group that owned all the bars on Demumbrian Street. Thanks for all the money that you made us. And Tin Roof is one of those bars. And I've been out to the Tin Roof for years. It opened while I was in college, done insanely well. Fantastic bar over the years. So when you look at the overall situation there, reports are that Tajae Sharpe was out there with a few other Titans people on the night in question, which was the night of the first round, April 27th, the night of the draft. Titans drafted Corey Davis out of Western Michigan, number 5 overall pick, first wide receiver drafted. Reports are, according to this lawsuit, that a guy was standing there. He turned to Tajae Sharpe and he said, "This is crazy. I guess you're basically going to be catching less balls." This evidently offended Tajae Sharpe. He had another offensive lineman there with him. They went out back in the back of the bar, and he knocked this guy unconscious. The guy stayed unconscious for 12 hours. The police are now investigating it. This is a crazy-ass story. Again, if it were happening on New York or L.A., this would be everywhere. I still think once the criminal charges come down, assuming they do, that they will get a lot of attention. I think you have to ask yourself, will Tajae Sharpe be on the Titans roster when next season begins? Again, the Titans went and drafted 2 different draft picks. Yes, 100%. The guy was knocked out for 12 hours. He had a perforated or punctured eardrum or whatever you say about the eardrum, broken face, and a broken nose. This is a messy, messy situation for the Titans and their 5th-round wide receiver pick last year. Questions about that I will take. And then finally, I want to play this for you. There is a massive collection of great white sharks massing, and we'll probably play this on the show tomorrow as well. But this is wild. This is insanely wild. This is a collection of great white sharks, and this was an official statement that was made as people were out paddleboarding in the OC right off of Long Beach. This is an amazing audio, and I absolutely love this. Animal Thunderdome indeed. Police in California warned paddleboarders to exit the water in a calm manner as they are next to approximately 15, that's 15 different great white sharks. I want you guys to hear this. Just listen. What would your reaction be if you were in the water and they flew over you and started to say this from a helicopter? This is the Orange County Sheriff's Department saying this.
Attention in the water. Attention in the water. This is the Orange County Sheriff's Department. Be advised, State Parks is asking us to make an announcement to let you know you are paddleboarding next to approximately 15 great white sharks. They're advising that you exit the water in a calm manner. The sharks are as close as the surf line. Thank you for your cooperation. This is the Orange County Sheriff's Department.
Can you guys hear that well? I've paddleboarded before. I fucking fall off the paddleboard all the time. All it takes is a little bit of a wave. If I were paddleboarding and you suddenly told me, by the way, there are 15 great white sharks around you, you need to go back calmly to the beach, there's 0% doubt that I would immediately panic and fall in the water and then be floundering about like crazy, expecting at any moment for my legs to get taken off. And then I'd get back up on the paddleboard and fall back off. I might faint. I'm not going to claim that I wouldn't be a total pussy about 15 different great white sharks. If you've ever paddleboarded, I don't think men are very good paddleboarders. I don't think we have as good a balance. I could be wrong in this. Do we know? Have the sexes been tested for balance on paddleboards? It seems to me that like women are on paddleboards and they look fucking graceful. Like my wife's on there and she's just like switching back and forth and she's paddleboarding left and right. I get on the paddleboard and I go a little bit and then I just fucking fall. And then I go a little bit more and then I fucking fall again. And I don't know if there's an advantage that my wife has or she's just more athletic or better with her balance. But every time I see a woman on a paddleboard, she looks like she should be on the paddleboard. And every time I see a dude on a paddleboard, he looks like he doesn't belong on a paddleboard. 100%. I think it's the weight, like the distribution. Women don't weigh as much by and large. Maybe that's it. Maybe their hips are set better so they can balance better on the board. I don't know what the answer is, but I get on a fucking paddleboard and I fall off. And then my wife's just sashaying around everywhere. The point on this is straightforward. You come on as the Orange County Sheriff's Office from a helicopter and tell me that I'm surrounded by 15 great white sharks, I'm probably going to fall off the board. I'm probably going to hit my head, and I'm probably going to drown and or be eaten immediately by a horde of sharks. There's 0% chance that I make it back into a beach without crashing off my board. 0% chance. I've told this story before. I've had an experience like this on the beach. When I was in 7th grade, I went on a church youth trip to Panama City Beach. Went to Panama City Beach, stayed in a total shithole of a beach place, and we had a jet ski. Never ridden on a jet ski before. We had like an 18-year-old guy down there who was one of the chaperones, and he was taking everybody out on the jet ski. And I was in 7th grade again. I was like 12 years old, and I was on the back of the jet ski, and we tipped over because he was like doing jumps and everything else. So we tipped over. It's difficult, if you remember back in the day, I'm 38 now, this is like 25 years ago. 25 years ago, jet skis were not that easy to get back up on. You guys remember, like back in the day, old school jet skis? Like you had to really work to get back up onto the jet ski, right? And especially if there were two of you, because the balance on the jet ski would typically flip back and forth. So it's a lot easier now. I was just on one this past year. Hate to brag, but we have a jet ski. And I was just on the jet ski, and like I can get on and off the jet ski pretty easily, even with my kids. And nowadays they're easy and they're made for like multiple people. But back in the day, it was hard to get back up on a jet ski. So I'm down at Panama City Beach, Florida, up on the Gulf Coast. Dude comes by, lifeguard. Lifeguard comes by on his own jet ski, and they still do this. Lifeguard comes by and he says, guys, you need to get out of the water. We just spotted several tiger sharks in the area. We're like, fuck. So Brett, who's like 18 years old, seems like he's a lot older, you know, like a college-age kid. When you're 12, somebody who's 18 might as well be a different species. Brett's theory is this. He's like, you know what? I'm going to get up on the jet ski, and then you hang on to the back, and I'll drag you into the water. I'll drag you back to the beach. So I'm like, I don't know, this doesn't seem like great advice, but I'm 12, he's 18. So he gets on the jet ski, and he takes off to head us back into the beach. I am like using every bit of my strength to hold on to the back of the jet ski, right? 12-year-old Clay Travis just hanging on there as we bounce across the waves. And I'm thinking at any minute, literally, that a tiger shark's just going to leap up. Because at that point in time, I'm basically like bait, right? My ass is just bouncing up on down on the waves. Like, shark's like, damn, I got a target here. I got a kid, you know, just bouncing along. And so I'm getting bounced along. And as I'm getting bounced along, going down the whole beach, 7th grade, I'm at a church youth camp. Everybody there, church youth camp, boys and girls. Problem starts. Was a problem I was not anticipating. My shorts, my swimsuit starts to come down because the exhaust is just like hitting me right in the face, right? The exhaust off the jet ski, and it's rolling right down my body, right into my pants, and starting to pull them off. So my suit is starting to fall off, right? Like I'm starting to feel it. I'm like, oh my God, you're 12 years old, all these hot 12-year-old girls, 7th grade girls on the beach. You were thinking you were going to be such a badass on the jet ski. Hey, watch us. We're going to go do a couple flips. We're going to jump up in the air. It's going to be amazing. So I'm hanging on to the back, thinking to myself, I'm going to get eaten by a tiger shark, and everybody's going to see my dick. Everybody's going to see my dick. I'm going to lose my pants. I swear to God, pants come off. Pants come off. I managed, thanks to the webbing, this is before the pre-board short era, all the swimsuits you used to wear back in the day, they had like that netting, you know, like your ball sack netting. So I've got the ball sack netting, and I managed to catch my foot. My right foot manages to hook into the netting. So I've got it hooked. But we're still going along the surf, along the waves, and now I'm hitting the water, and my bare ass is mooning the entire beach. Everybody at church, everybody's there, all the cute girls in 7th grade, 8th grade, everybody's standing around. I'm thinking at that point, I hope this shark kills me, because I don't want to have to go back into the beach after I've just gone naked along the whole Panama City Beach on a jet ski. Get dragged in. There's a huge crowd of people by this point, because I've just gone naked along the entire length of the beach. Huge crowd of people. Water's probably waist deep. I bend over, pull my shorts back up, thinking at the same time, the shark could still come in and eat me at any moment. And I'm going to be honest with y'all, only time in my life I've been in the water at a beach and thought, you know what? At least if the shark bit me now, people wouldn't talk about the fact that I just mooned the whole beach and that I'd been naked in front of everybody. And by the way, when you're like 12, like, it would be funny to me to happen now. Like, I'm 38. If I were just mooning the entire beach, I'd be like, whatever. People would be like, I kind of expect that Clay Travis would just go down the beach with his ass out. Like, that's kind of what people would expect of me. When you're 12, there's nothing. Remember back in the day, like, there's nothing worse than getting your pants pulled down. Remember, I don't know about your school, but everybody was in that like, shanking game. Like, everybody walk around, pull your pants down. Last thing you want when you're 12 is to be naked in front of girls. No 12-year-old boys ever want to be naked in front of girls. So I'm standing there in the water. Nobody has any idea, right? Nobody has any idea why I was hanging on to the back of the jet ski. And I come in, and everybody's like, man, like everybody's laughing. I mean, the entire beach has just seen me naked. And I come walking in, and everybody's like, what happened? I said, there's tiger shark out there. And I was like, and then I was like, there's like 10 tiger sharks out there, and they just attacked somebody down the beach. And everybody's like, no way. I was like, yeah, right down there, further down the beach, there's somebody. I think you just got him. I think he's dead. And then I just tried to disappear. So that's the story. I've been in that situation. I would definitely panic. I would definitely have died. That's my tiger shark story. That's my story about being told by a lifeguard that I was in the presence of near death from a shark. And what did I do? I went ahead and showed everybody my ass. Welcome in to Outkick the Show. I am Clay Travis. Go download the SeatGeek app. Go make some money. And save some money by using the Outkick code. We'll be back tomorrow. I'll talk more on the show, 6 to 9 a.m. If you're not listening, you should be. 250 radio stations, AM and FM nationwide. I am Clay Travis. This has been Outkick the Show. my friends, remember, as always, DBAP, don't be a pussy. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the radio show. Thank you. See y'all.